Hello, everybody. Welcome to Lightworkers Secret to Success. We are here on a beautiful Monday afternoon, June 13th, 2022. And today we're talking about time. As I just told you the date, but we believe that there is no such thing as time. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. There's a few of us here that have a lot going on, and there's only a couple more weeks left of June, and we have to get so much stuff done in a little amount of time. And how can we do that? So I just always find it comical when I say, oh, I have all this stuff to do and I have it all kind of laid out. Or maybe not. I just kind of walk by faith, right? And not by sight all the time. And other people think, well, how are you going to do that? You have this and that and this and that. And I say, don't worry, we're going to get it done. Don't worry. So I've always lived like that. And I always get it done. And when it's done and it's over with, you're like, I don't know how you did that. And I'm like, I just did it. I mean, we get so many hours in a day, and how are we going to use those to our benefit? So we all have good examples on how we can kind of bend some time, or maybe we can give examples on how we bent time previously. I know we've all done it. How many times have you been in a car and you're running a little bit late and you're looking at the time and you're supposed to be somewhere at a specific time and you're like, oh my gosh, how am I going to get there? I don't see how it's possible. But then you start using the tools that we all kind of use day to day. Like, how does it get better than this? What else is possible? All life comes in with ease, joy, and glory. And you're just starting to not worry about the outcome, not worrying about being late, but just really focus your intention on being on time to your appointment or wherever you're going. And you're just driving, and all of a sudden you get there and you look at the time, you're like, oh my gosh, like I got here right in the nick of time, right? Or I got here right on time, or I got a minute to spare, and you feel like a rock star for the rest of the day. Sometimes you may not even realize that you're bending time, but you are creating spaces in your life where you can get to places where you need to go swiftly and smoothly. So I'm really curious on everybody else in our group here. How have you bent time before? Who wants to go first?
I'll give you an example I just experienced. And I used to do this all the time when I was flying around the world. If I was working a trip from New York to Tokyo or Hong Kong, which is about 14 hours, we would go sleep in these little bunk beds that there was a secret place on the big 747 airplane. And we had a bunk room where we would go lie down and get either a 45-minute or sometimes an hour or an hour and a half rest. Mm-hmm. And I would have to bend time. And I just did it. I could set my alarm to wake up at a certain time as a backup, but I would program my mind and say, okay, I just did it. I said, all right, I want to wake up at 4:50 Eastern time for this call. And I was lying down taking a nap, and I woke up at 4:48, and my alarm went off 2 minutes later. Mm-hmm. And the thing that fascinates me about that, you can do it in any time zone when you program yourself. Your subconscious mind is never asleep. Mm-hmm. It always knows what time it is. Mm-hmm. And it always knows what you have to do. Mm-hmm. And because of that, you can get rid of stress about all the things you have to get done, because if you just communicate with your subconscious and program, okay, I'm going to do this, and this today, and you expect it to work out, it goes a whole lot better.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all about programming yourself to make it go harmoniously, effortlessly, and expecting it to.
Exactly. Oh, I love that. And I love how the little reminder of setting our intentions and talking to our higher self and our subconscious, say, hey, this is what I need to get done. Because we forget that. We forget that our subconscious never sleeps. It's awake always.
Always.
Always awake.
Always. And that's why, I mean, I've even had experiences, I'm sure everybody's had this happen, where all of a sudden you'll wake up in the middle of the night and you'll realize there was something you needed to pay attention to. Mm-hmm. Maybe your house was on fire or, whatever. But our subconscious mind It never sleeps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
I know that I know you asked a question, how many hours do we get in a day? Well, Einstein has proven it back in the 40s that there's no such thing as time. It's only an illusion. So, what does that really mean? Right? Because, we've been programmed, we've been whatever, mind brainwashed for so long that, there's 24 hours in a day and this is how everything works. And, there's 12 months in a year and there's so many days in a month and, seconds, minutes, hours, whatever in a day. So at the end of the day, I mean, if you actually go on YouTube, there's a good video that explains what he's actually talking about and why he's saying there's no such thing as time. And really, we're watching things in a linear fashion, but it's not linear. Yeah. It's holistic. It's thought. And so if you really focus in on it, and I know, like, I've been watching Amanda for years, and I don't know how she does a lot of the things that she does, but she does spend time, and it's remarkable when you are, actually, we just pulled some tarot cards. Where your attention is where the energy flows, right? So when you have attention on something and there is just so much going on, the universe lines things up to make it happen. But you have to, I want to get rid of the word have to. You really need to be aligned with that and have intention on what you're trying to accomplish. And the more clear you are with that, I think, Rebecca, that's in your course too. Like, you actually you go in depth about in one of the modules about being really clear with what your goal is or the outcome is and how it manifests. So again, if you haven't taken Rebecca's course, by the way, is it launched now? I know it was in beta. Is it officially launched?
It's available on my website, rebeccatripp.com, and it's called the Mega Manifestation Method, and it's got a lot of powerful stuff in there. Yeah.
So if you haven't taken it, I just recommend taking it. She goes into depth talking about this, but when you really get into that, it's amazing how you can bend time there. And I was just thinking about one time, and this was painful for me. I tore my ACL playing hockey. And I remember as it was happening, everything went in super slow motion. Like, I could almost hear the ligament snapping, and I could feel myself falling, and it felt like I was in slow motion, like in the Matrix movie almost. And then once I fell, it's like everything kind of went blurry, and everyone's kind of standing around me, and I'm like, what happened? And they're like, are you okay? And I'm like, yep, I'm fine. And I kind of hobbled off, and they're like, are you sure you're okay? You're white as a ghost. And I'm like, I just fell. And they're like, you didn't hear that noise? And I'm like, what noise? Right? It was like I went into a different dimension, my body did. And so I just remember that if you're able to get your breathing and you're able to really get in alignment with bending time, I think it's definitely possible. Actually, I know it's possible. I had a download a little while ago. Most of you know that I'm a bike rider and I love riding bike, especially out in the country and just open road, no cars. I mean, I just love going for long bike rides. I had this thought that, if I was in the Tour de France and I could slow down time for all the other riders and me just ride at normal speed, if they're going 40 miles an hour, I could go 50 miles an hour. And I could always stay ahead of them because I could slow down their time and my time would just be normal time. And I'm like, is that possible? And when I muscle tested it, I got a yes. I would love to hear in the comments if that's possible. If you guys think it's possible through muscle testing, if someone could actually do that, if they had the right techniques. That's what came. I just need to have the right techniques. I always get that it's yes, it's possible. but it takes a lot of technique and a lot of practice to get to there.
Well, can I share a story I read a few years ago that got my attention that's along those lines? There is a series of little books written called Teachings of the Masters of the Far East. Baird Spalding went to Tibet and India and that part of the world in the late 1800s, and he met incredibly awake people, people that could walk on water, people that showed him things like TV screens with the past of, history of the world, showing him all kinds of things. And it almost sounded like a fairy tale, but I believe it's true. Baird Spalding, in his biography, it says that he had the ability to get in his car in the 1900s, and he could drive long distances in his car, but there was no way you could explain how short a time period it took him to get there.
Yeah.
So he was bending time. He learned how to do it.
I've heard, you guys have heard about that all the time when someone is driving long distances and it's supposed to take a certain amount and they get their way faster. And you're like, how do you get there that fast?
People can do it. I mean, there's another guy that I heard recently who's a martial arts expert, and he claims he does that all the time. Yeah, it's possible. Because if there is no time and we're living in multi-dimensions, all you have to do is convince yourself that you're in the fifth or sixth dimension while you're driving, and you'll go into almost like it's almost like teleporting, because if this is an illusion, it's just a waking dream. If you've got a powerful enough mind to just allow yourself to believe something, it's a done deal.
Yeah, I totally believe in teleporting, that I know it's possible. And I know we're on the verge of majority of the people teleporting instantaneously anywhere in the world. I've been hearing a lot lately that there is countries without borders. And they're talking about the financial reset, but I also believe that it's for the 5D world that's shaping and coming out, and that's for people, light beings, that can just go wherever they want, whenever they want, anywhere in the world, and that's why there's going to be countries without borders, because they can no longer control us like they are now through the driver's license, through the passports, through everything. Because if you're just jumping all the time, there's nothing they can do to stop it.
It's interesting that they use those words, because there's always like a double meaning, right? We're thinking it's linear in one way, but really it's more of like a duality, right? You take it one way or the other.
Well, they say when this solar flash hits us, which could happen, I mean, who knows? But right now, most people have only activated 3 strands of their DNA. And that's what keeps us in this dumbed down 3D state. But the masters, like Jesus and Buddha, they had 12 strands activated. And we are absolutely capable of that. And a lot of star seeds that are here and are being born have the 12 strands activated. And that's where you can do these remote viewing, mental telepathy, teleportation, all kinds of stuff. But when that solar flash hits, it may activate all of us.
Yeah, I have heard that.
Yeah.
And I've also heard that we would sleep for like 3 days and we'd all just wake up.
I've heard that too. Yeah. I hope I'm in bed when it happens.
I'm up for a 3-day nap. Pamela, anything for you? Any thoughts?
Well, I just think about things that I've done. I've spent time, I've slowed down time. Like Amanda mentioned earlier, when you need to be somewhere and you're running late. So I've just had time slow down so that I get that extra time back.
Mhm.
then I've been in situations where we needed to get someone to an emergency room. So I sped up time so that we could get there faster.
Mhm.
Right. And then the other thing I do quite often is if I'm for whatever reason not getting to bed at a time that I need, to get enough sleep, then I would just make it set the intentional time wise that for every half hour sleep I get is equivalent to 90 minutes. So I'm stretching out that time that I'm sleeping. And it always works. There's never a question, and I had read something when I was younger, like probably in my late teens, early 20s, about how you could slow down time. But the thing is that you couldn't look at the clock. If you do it, if you like in your car and you need to go somewhere and you say, I need to be somewhere, they say not to look at your clock because as soon as you look at your clock, it throws you back into that reality, right?
Oh, okay. That
You
makes
know,
sense.
because it's like, oh, it's still, but the one thing with data healing that we learned early on is we could change the way time flows for us. But we were always told to make sure we put it back whenever we got to wherever we were going, that we always restored it the way it was supposed to be for everybody else. It's like, okay, back to normal.
That's
But
normal.
yeah, but I always wonder about that because I think about it like, right, okay, like right now there's four of us and we're in three different time zones,
Yeah.
you know.
Right.
But yet, if time's not a reality,
Mhm.
what time zone are we really in,
I know.
right?
Yes.
So, like, it's just if you like, do you believe it is? And she just accepted it, right?
Pamela, I've done that a lot in my years. I have 5 children, 4 grandchildren, and another grandchild on the way. So I'm pretty stretched. And then I have my clients and I have, just everything that I do on top of that. So there are times that I go to bed really late. I work 7 days a week in my caregiving job. So sometimes I work in the morning, sometimes I work at night, and I never really know what I'm going to walk into. So sometimes there's emergencies. But by the time I get home, it's about 10. Then I have to kind of wind down. And sometimes I have to be back at work the very next day. Well, my brain sometimes doesn't want to shut off because I'm awake. And I want to, I want to keep going because I'm naturally a night owl. So sometimes I might stay up till like 1, not even realizing. Then I'm like, oh gosh, I have to get up, early for work. And so I will set that intention. I'll say, oh, I only have, X amount of hours. But when I wake up, I want to feel like I've had a full night of sleep and I want to feel well rested. And sure enough, I'll go to sleep and I usually, I'll toss and turn, but in those deep hours where I'm sleeping and not moving around a lot, my alarm will just go off and I feel like, oh, it's time to get up and I feel refreshed. So, and if I don't, then I always think, oh my gosh, darn it. Like, I forgot to say my intentions, but I'm like, snooze, snooze, snooze. Because I do like to hit the snooze button quite often as well. Well, I loved all of our advice and all of our examples of how we can bend time and, and how we can get so many hours in a day. Sometimes you say, oh, I don't have enough hours in the day. Well, you just have to learn how to manipulate those hours and make them work for you. So, well, great. I loved everything that we had to say, everything we had to offer. I just thank everyone for being here. If you haven't liked and subscribed to our channel, please do so. And we will see you here next week with Lynn McDonald. And she has an interesting story for us. And she's going to be teaching us about how our body can be deficient in different minerals and how that may play out and how our body can communicate that to us. So I'm really excited for that for next week. So stay tuned and be with us here next Monday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.